If I sound a little groggy, I do apologize. I was doing something a lot more fun than an all weekend bender. I was streaming really good games all weekend. So, we all hear about how AAA, quadruple A gaming even, is pretty bad, right? And I think we're all pretty used to it, right? Subpar experiences, bland open worlds, battle passes on everything, right? But I think that it's really interesting to go back in time, even 20 years ago, right? Which is gonna date a lot of this, and just understand how bad modern AAA and quadruple A gaming is, right? So I've never played a Silent Hill game until literally this weekend, right? I've never played one. I started looking into some stuff. I started watching some videos and understanding the lore, and I decided, hey, let's start with the most controversial Team Silent game. And there's a lot of reasons why this game is going to be controversial. Brief summary in regards to some of the game. I mean, Silent Hill, you're next to Silent Hill, and you're stuck in your room, right? Thus, you go through holes, you do shenaniganry, you go deep down into someone's other world, right? Their dreamed up world, and you beat the baddie, and then, ambiguous ending, right? Pretty bare bones, cool, that gets us there, right? And there's a lot to love, and there's a lot to not like, and I see why it's controversial, right? And I promise this is going to go into the AAA, quadruple A problem. So, things that I didn't like, first off, the tank controls were pretty bad. I was playing this on the GOG version. It is on GOG. It's actually why I bought it, because it was like $10. And obviously I'm using an Xbox Elite controller. The thumbsticks are pretty narrow and thin, all things considered. And if I think about it from like a PS2 controller standpoint, the movement makes a little more sense. There were often a lot of times where, like, I'm moving, and then, because I'm turning too sharply, because the game, it's old game old, right, is really what a lot of this comes down to. The tank controls have you do these wide arcs instead of being able to self-correct. So sometimes I would turn and I would straighten out my sticks, and then it would just continue going the direction I was going. Sure, that's an interface thing. Maybe, and I view that as old game old modern hardware, right? The ghosts, I could see them being incredibly controversial. They're really fast a lot of the time, and I don't think any modern game would be, aside from maybe some Resident Evil and Dead Space, right? But that's because it's part of the horror genre, right? I don't think any modern game would do any sort of pursuer enemy like that, especially with the frequency of the ghosts. You can't gank the ghosts, right? The ghosts are there to stay. They're ghosts. You can down them. Part of the issue, and they put a timer on you, right? Part of the issue with them is not only can they grab you and do some damage, but they get near you and they do damage over time, right? Because you're near the spooky ghosts. Definitely one of those I hear is a little controversial about the entry. I think it's additive, but then again, I'm also biased because I played the game on easy, which leads to my third thing, where most of the game is backtracking, right? You do your first like 4 or 5 missions, then you do a special hospital level, and then you spend the next 5 levels effectively backtracking through the previous levels. So very specifically, you start in your room, you go through the hole, you go to Subway World, you go to Forest World, you go to Water Prison World, you go to Alley, you go to Apartment, Hospital, Subway World 2, Forest World 2, Water Prison 2, Alley 2, technically Apartments, but Apartment into Final, right? And, I mean, I streamed this in about 10 hours on easy, right? I mean, honestly, it was one of those things that, even justifying old game old, it wasn't bad. The problem with the back half of when you start Subway 2, technically in Hospital, is that the entire game is an escort mission, right? You have to take the main character, Henry, main protag, and you have to protect Eileen the entire time. And the reason you have to protect her is, think like Ashley in Resident Evil a little bit, but you can't heal her, and her amount of health does depend on the ending. And I think, even though I kept her mostly unharmed, I still got not the best ending. I got the ending where they wanted to move out of Silent Hill. I got the escape ending, right? Or move out of the area, which we'll get into that in a second. So yeah, the fact that is so inherently tied to the ending, and actually, if you are on harder difficulty, she gets swiped out of any part of the back half of the game. She gets swiped too many times. She's unable to actually like move things right. Like she moves a lot faster in the final encounter, is why that's important. Copy paste enemies. There's in Water Prison 2.0. There's like 6 twin victims, just like Taurus Demon and Dark Souls, right? Where you go to Lost Isles, there's like 14 copy pasted Taurus Demons down there. There's 6 twin victims. So Yeah, a lot of copy pasting. Some encounters that can get a little sus, if you will. And ultimately, the ending, they were ambiguous enough, and I think they made sense because it due to factors that depend on what your ending was. And I think that the endings of leaving Silent Hill, or leaving the area, leaving the room, and staying in the room are reversed. The best ending is to stay in the room, where like Walter's body was, and the hauntings happened, and all this stuff happened. And then the second best ending, the not best ending, is you leave. So I think that's a little interesting that they're not reversed. I might be missing some context there. But I bring this up because if any one of these happened in a modern AAA or quadruple A game, right? Like all of this, right? How many people would immediately leave this game, right? How many people would immediately just go, Capcom is releasing a new Resident Evil like mobile game, or EA's releasing a Dead Space mobile game. I'm picking mobile games right now, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like a big studio releases a game, like or Call of Duty releases the next Black Ops, right? And it has any of these problems, right? People would not be wouldn't be into it. I mean, they'd leave. What kept me going is like, honestly, the story was great. The use of imagery was great. People want to talk about how gamers have gone soft. In a few ways, I agree, right? I mean, this game, I had to think. I had to put, brain cells together. I had to have chat help me with a couple things. The specific, when you go to apartments, there's a phone you pick up, and then it rings, and it's stereo. So sometimes you hear from your left, sometimes you hear from your right. I had a kind chat member just say, Kip, it's this room. This part sucks, right? And like, there's parts that suck. In every game, there's parts that suck. Let's be honest. And it was a really cool experience to work through it with chat. And it was really cool to engage with some of the mechanics. And some of them were pretty ambiguous. And there was a curveball throughout it with a cursed doll, which thankfully I knew not to pick up. And a lot of people were like, oh, let's see if you pick this up, right? But I gush about this because I think this is one of those things where old game is old, and that is both a detriment and a positive. Because if any AAA studio put this out nowadays, and don't get me wrong, this is by Konami, right? You can easily consider this a AAA game from 2004, right? But the issue is that we're fast forward 20 years. Do you know this game has bullet physics? Do you like? So I bring up the 6 twin victims, right? So I used a melee most of the game, right? Because melees are actually kind of cracked, right? I was using towards the end, swapping between hand axe and pickaxe of despair, right? Which I had to look. I was looking up to see if I was missing something, and I was like, oh, there's a pickaxe here. Like, modern games struggle with bullet physics, right? Most games have like things like hit scan. Most games do things like that, right? But I went up to the 6 twin victims, shot the first one, moved over. The other 5 were kind of lined up diagonally, right? And then I shot once and hit all 5 of them. Silent Hill 4 The Room has bullet penetration. Now, depending on your game, let's look back to old Resident Evil 4, 2004 Resident Evil 4. Sometimes that can be additive to the game, where you have the base pistol, right, the base handgun, which at fully maxed out is supposed to be a crit machine, right? It's like, what, 5x? I think it's 2 or 3x crit, right, when it's fully maxed out. And then you have things like, okay, that's a balancing point. And then you go with the Punisher. I think it's the 5.7 in the new one, right? Where, yeah, at most, when you upgrade to its special, you can penetrate up to 5 enemies, right? And then you go into the Red 9, which is, most powerful, doesn't really have bullet penetration, right? Like there's balancing points around that. But so oftentimes in modernity, I'll play a game and I'm just like, am I shooting paper? Like, am I shooting spitballs at people? What's going on here? Like, we have the tech. Old game is old. Old games from 20 years ago have solved a lot of these problems. And it's wild to me that modern AAA, quadruple A gaming, modern premier gaming cannot get their stuff together. So I think it's one of those things where pick up old games, right? Honestly, I enjoyed Silent Hill 4 The Room. It's got a lot of disturbing imagery. It literally even comes with like hey, some things in this game might be pretty disturbing, right? Which part of, gamers have gone soft. Back in my day, we had Doom. Back in my day, we had Mortal Kombat. And it's like, I appreciate the labels. At least be open about it and give the consumer, the gamer, the choice, right? I think that's a weird thing because that's subjective to everybody, right? I personally don't play Mortal Kombat. I personally don't play Gears. Not super into all the red paint, if you will. But it just blows my mind that going back to a game from 20 years ago and owning the copy, right? Buying it via GOG, I have played Silent Hill 4 more in the 10 hours I've played it. And there's still replayability, like there's still unlockables and stuff. More than I have modern AAA and quadruple A experiencers for 6x the price, now going into 8x the price. Wow. Like I had to gush about this, honestly. Like, this was one of those things where I looked at this, I played this on stream, and like the bones of this are great. Old game is old. Some of these things are going to be a little wonky. As soon as you get past that, there is a quality product there. This would never happen in modernity. In terms of remakes, we'll probably see a remake of Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 3. 4, I don't see there being a remake of. I'd be pleasantly surprised. I feel like they could do things a little differently. I feel like, sure, they could do cutscenes and stuff, but even then, the cutscenes could potentially ruin the vibe of the game, right? So there's a point when you step out of the apartment and it's kind of like pulsating meat wall, but it's done in a way that just kind of works for PS2, right? It's a way that works for retro graphics. I guess you could do that for like a high budget RE Engine style graphical system, maybe. It just wouldn't be the same though. It also touches on some pretty dark subject matter, which you know, like the whole the ending is, well, ambiguous. Like, Walter has gone through a lot in life, but you know, dude kind of needs to be put down. Game is good. I honestly really liked it. That is wild to me, to just go back in time, and we talk about it, but understand how bad modern AAA and quadruple A gaming is. So I've stuck with Edited Works. I have the editing skill of a wombat. If you're looking for a good horror game, maybe think about Silent Hill 4, The Room from GOG. It's $10, honestly. Not that I'm affiliated with it. Not that I'm sponsored by GOG. Just hi, if you want to own a game, right? You can go check it out on GOG. But thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if you like these kind of like reactionary bits to games. I might be toying with them. I'm actually in the middle of Fallout 76 right now. I'm posting what I can over to the clip channel, the gaming channel. Links down below if you're interested in just watching me go through games, you know, kind of Let's Play style. But thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day.